As the kids like to say, yo, 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 what is going on, motherfuckers? Alright, take two. What's up? This should be part 13 of the book, Devil in the White City. Any updates? Yeah, I'm stressed. That's the update. I'm gearing up to take my first licensing exam, and I'm effing fucking stressed, so it behooves me to read a book and, just kind of get some stuff in my face that gets my mind off of all that. So I'm going to go ahead and read. This is the part 13 of Devil in the White City. Subchapter is titled The Invitation. This is, again, as always, featuring the Magic School Bus in the background, so enjoy that. Here we go. For the moment, Holmes held off on doing anything more than Minnie's property. Minnie had told her sister Anna of the transfer of the Fort Worth land, and now Holmes sensed that Anna was becoming suspicious of his true intentions. This did not trouble him, however. The solution was really quite simple. What is he going to do, kill her? One bright and fragrant spring day, as if on a wild equinoctial whim, Holmes suggested that Minnie invite her sister to Chicago to see the World's Fair at his expense. Oh, I bet. Minnie was delighted and sent the good news to Anna, who immediately accepted. Holmes knew she would, for how could she have done otherwise? The chance to see Minnie was compelling in itself. At Chicago and the Great Fair, and the combination became too alluring to turn down. No matter what Anna suspected about his and Minnie's relationship, Minnie could hardly wait for the end of the school year, when her sister at last would be able to extricate herself from her duties at the Midlothian Academy. Minnie planned to show Anna all the wonders of Chicago, the skyscrapers, Marshall Field's store, the auditorium, and of course the World's Fair. But above all, she looked forward to introducing Anna to her own personal wonder, Mr. Henry Gordon, her Harry. At last, Anna would see that she could put her suspicions to rest. Okay, that's a quick subchapter. We're moving on to the next one called Final Preparations. Let's go ahead and land here, somewhere that I can trust. Somewhere that, who am I kidding? There's nowhere to trust here. Let's try to get into a bush, try to loot a little bit. So when we're in a top 10 situation, we can absolutely throw the game. Can I land on this? What? I'm gonna loot up just a tad bit more so when we head into a bush, I just need to know that when someone finds me, I gotta know that I can sick them, I can absolutely destroy them. Hold on, is that somebody? Or is that a fish? I don't see any way I lose this, right? There's no way. No physical way. I feel like I should have learned my lesson with the pump and dump, but I'm just not. I like it too much. If I get a good AR, then that's game. Alright, we can go hide into a bush. Let's find ourselves a nice little healthy bush. Trimmed is fine, but I need a good thick bush. I need to be able to hide in this thing. It's got to be sturdy. If it's not sturdy, it's not worth my time. Uh-oh. Here we go. All right, let's continue reading here. Perfect placement. Perfect placement. All right, final preparations. In the first 2 weeks of April of 1893, the weather was gorgeous, but other cruelties abounded. 4 exposition workers lost their lives, 2 from fractured skulls, 2 electrocuted. The deaths brought the year's total to 7. The exposition's union carpenters, aware of their great value in this final phase of construction, seized the moment and walked off the job, demanding a minimum union wage and other long-sought concessions. Only one of the 8 towers of the Ferris wheel was in place, and workers had not yet completed repairs to the manufacturers and liberal arts building. Each morning, hundreds of men climbed to its roof. Each evening they picked their way gingerly back down in a long, dense line that from a distance resembled a column of ants. Frank Millet's whitewash gang worked furiously to paint the buildings of the Court of Honor. In places, the staff coating already had begun to crack and chip. Patch crews patrolled the grounds. The air of anxious effort that suffused the park reminded Candace Wheeler, the designer hired to decorate the woman's building, of an insufficiently equipped household preparing for visitors. Jeez. So basically just saying they have no clue what they're doing. Despite the carpenters' strike and all the work yet to be done, Burnham felt optimistic, his mood bolstered by the fine weather. The winter had been deep and long, but now the air was scented with first blossoms and thawed earth, and he felt loved. In late March, he had been feted at a grand banquet arranged largely by Charles McKim and held in New York at Madison Square Garden, the Old Garden, an elegant Moorish structure designed by McKim's partner, Sanford White. McKim assigned Frank Millet to secure the attendance of the nation's finest painters, and these took their seats beside the most prominent writers and architects. All right, so like a who's who of invitation list. And the patrons who supported them all, men like Marshall Field and Henry Villard, and together they spent the night lauding Burnham prematurely for achieving the impossible. Of course, they ate like gods. The menu? Oh, I'm about to butcher this, I know it. Blue points à l'Alaska, sauternes, potages, consommé printanier, crème de céleri, amontillado, hors d'oeuvres. The fuck is hors d'oeuvre? Oh, hors d'oeuvre? Yeah, I know what a hors d'oeuvre is. I'm an American. Of course I know what that is. Rissoles, Chateaubriand, Amandis, Salés, Olives. Oh, poison. Poison is the next thing on the menu. Poisson. Poison. Oh, sorry, make it French. Poison. Bas Rei, Sauce Hollandaise. Pommes Parisiennes. Meersfeiner. Moet et Chandon Pierre Jus. Extra dry special. This isn't even fucking English. What the hell is this? Referee, but with a V at the end. Referee. Filet de bois aux champignons. Haricot verts. Pommes duchesse. Entrée. Riz de veau en côtelette. Petit pois. Sorbet. Thank God. Romaine Fantasy. Cigarettes. Alright, I didn't know you could eat those. Rôti. Canard de tête rouge. Salade de laitue. Why don't you just say lettuce? Pontet ganette. Dessert. Petits moules fantasy. Gâteaux assortis. Bonbons. I know bonbons. Petit feuilles. Fruit assortis. fromages, roquefort et camembert, café, apollinaris, cognac, cordials, cigars. All right, well, jeez. Nobody make fun of my French, man. Newspapers reported that Olmsted also was present, but in fact he was in Asheville, North Carolina, continuing his work on Vanderbilt's estate. His absence prompted speculation that he had stayed away out of Piquet, Pique, Piquet, and not being invited to share the podium. And because the invitation had identified the major arts only as painting, architecture, and sculpture, with no reference to landscape architecture. Ooh, he's angry. Oh, we gotta move a little. To be fair, I mean, when I think of art, I'm not saying landscape architecture isn't art. But, you know, there's a pretty clear... how do I describe it? There's a pretty clear difference between what, you know, everyday clowns consider to be art and what is considered, you know, elegance. Two different things. When I think of elegance, I think of very sophisticated works, you know. Maybe not understood by all, but it's very subjective, right? So landscape architecture is one of those things that's just very subjective. It might look nice to me, but maybe it's not nice to whoever is in those buildings, you know? By the way, music today brought to you by Mexican Lo-Fi. I loved listening to this. For some reason, I thought that I couldn't play music, and then I remembered I'm not monetizing or don't give a fuck, so why can't I play the music I want to play? Let's get into a bush. All right, let's read some more French. While it is true that Olmsted had struggled throughout his career to build respect for landscape architecture as a distant branch of the fine arts, for him to shun the banquet because of hurt feelings would have been out of character. The simplest explanation seemed best. Olmsted was ill. His work everywhere was behind schedule. He disliked ceremonies, and above all, he loathed long distance train travel. Say that fast a bunch of times. Long distance train travel, long distance train travel, long distance train travel. Especially in transitional months when rail cars, even the finest Pullman palaces, were likely to be too hot or too cold. Had he attended, he would have heard Burnham tell the guests, "Each of you knows the name and genius of who stands first in the heart and confidence of American artists, the creator of your own and many other city parks. He it is who has been our best advisor, our constant mentor. In the highest sense, he is the planner of the exposition. Frederick Law Olmsted, an artist. He paints with lakes and wooded slopes." Ooh, I like that. That's a good way to describe it. I paint with lakes and wooded slopes. I paint with my words. I paint with my paper. I paint with my handwriting. I like that. I'm gonna underline that right there. An artist. That's very true. Art is very subjective. With lawns and banks and forest-covered hills with mountain sides and ocean views, he should stand where I do tonight. Which is not to say that Burnham wanted to sit down. He reveled in the attention and adored the engraved silver loving cup that was filled with wine and held to the lips of every man at the table, despite the prevalence in the city outside of typhoid, diphtheria, tuberculosis, and pneumonia. He knew the praise was premature, but the banquet hinted at the greater glory that would accrue to him at fair's end, provided, of course, the exposition met the world's elaborate expectations. Without doubt, huge progress has been made. The 6 grandest buildings of the exposition towered over the central court, with an effect more dramatic and imposing than even he had imagined. Daniel Chester, French's statue of the Republic, nicknamed Big Mary, that's an awful name for a man, Big Mary, stood in the basin, complete and gleaming, its entire surface gilded. Included Plinch, the Republic was 111 feet tall, more than 200 other buildings erected by states, corporations, foreign governments stippled the surrounding acreage. The White Star Line had built a charming little temple at the northwest bank of the lagoon opposite the wooded island, with steps to the water. The monstrous guns of Krupp were in place in their pavilion on the lake south of the Court of Honor. The Court of Honor, you say, huh? The scale of the whole thing is more and more tremendous. As the works proceed, Mr. Kim wrote to Richard Hunt. A bit too tremendous, he noted cattily, at least in the case of the manufacturers and liberal arts building. His own agriculture building, he wrote, must suffer by comparison with its huge neighbor opposite, whose volume, 215 feet high of the main axis, is bound to swamp us and everything else around it. He told Hunt he had just spent 2 days with Burnham, including 2 nights at the shanty. He is keeping up under his responsibilities and looking well. We all owe him a great debt for his constant watchfulness and attention to our slightest wishes. Our slightest wishes, even though they know this dude is like The Walking Dead, probably feels like hell. Still showing up to work every single day. We gotta move. Okay. Not seeing anything here. Oh my gosh, we gotta move along. Oh, jeezer. So the exposition is getting built. People have come, people have gone, people have actually died trying to build this thing. And, you know, I mean, it was such an older time, too. I think nowadays, as long as you complain, you'll get something, right? That's kind of America. That's what America's built on, right? Just like, they don't want bad PR or bad press, so just give the workers what they want. Which, I mean, you know, fair. I wouldn't want anybody dealing in unfavorable circumstances just for work. It can definitely be way better with these employers and how much money they're making these days, especially. Uh-oh. Oh, no way. Oh, no way. So maybe now they might know where I am. I really don't want to be on this part of town, man. Ooh, get me out of here. ASAP, man. Uh-oh. Operation Get Lost in the Sauce. I wonder how much that fair cost to be built. I'm assuming we're going to get a number in the end, but at the same time, I mean, that's not... You're building a whole new town. Obviously, it's like already in a town. But there's something to be said about like brand new buildings, brand new infrastructure, brand new everything. I think there's a jump pad around here. Somebody here? What a clown. What a major puss. You'll see a bush, let your boy know. I don't think I see any bushes. This might have to be one that I actually play. Oh no, I see one, I see one, I see one. I like this a lot. Gotta move again. Is this dude behind me? Oh, he is. Oh, shoot. He saw me. So there's no way he didn't see me. I only got to get one kill, and that's the last one. Such soothing music, you know. This dude's dead. Easily. Give me that ammo. Whoa, dude, whoa. Did anybody ever teach you manners? Oh, no way. I'm doomed. Oh, shoot. I don't know where this guy went. I'm not going to try to figure out. I like doing that. I like reading, and then just if I'm in the top 10, I'll play that, you know. Let's continue. His own agriculture building, he wrote, must suffer from comparison with its huge neighbor opposite, whose volume, 215 feet high off the main axis, is bound to swamp us and everything else around it. He told Hunt he had just spent 2 days with Burnham, including 2 nights at the shanty. He is keeping up under his responsibilities and looking well, and we all owe him a great debt for his constant watchfulness and attention to our slightest wishes. That's the last thing we read. Even the carpenters' strike did not trouble Burnham. There seemed to be plenty of unemployed non-union carpenters willing to step in for the absent strikers. I fear nothing at all from this source, he wrote on April 6th in a letter to Margaret. The day was cold but clear, bright and beautiful, a splendid day to live and work in. Workers were putting in the embellishments, he wrote. A lot of ducks were put in the lagoons yesterday, and they are floating around contentedly and quite like life this morning. Olmsted had ordered more than 800 ducks and geese, 7,000 pigeons, and for the sake of accent, a number of exotic birds, including 4 snowy egrets, 4 storks, 2 brown pelicans, and 2 flamingos. So far, only the common white ducks have been introduced into the waters. In 2 or 3 days, Burnham wrote, all the birds will be in the water, which already commences to be still more beautiful than last year. The weather remained lovely, crisp, clear, and beautiful than last year. The weather remained lovely, crisp, clear, and dry. On Monday, April 10th, he told Margaret, I am very happy. Over the next few days, his mood changed. There was talk that other unions might join the carpenters' strike and bring all work in Jackson Park to a halt. Suddenly, the exposition seemed dangerously far from ready. Construction of the sheds for the stock exhibits at the south end of the grounds had yet to begin. Damn, so it's just a whole bunch of trouble, man. I mean, it's like planning a wedding, right? You know, the bride, everything's got to be perfect for the bride because she's a bride, right? Come to find out, you know, wedding week, nothing's perfect, right? She didn't want white flowers. She wanted cream-colored flowers, and that's completely different, right? She didn't want birds flying out. She wanted pigeons, right? I mean, it's you know women, you know them, you know. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's get ridiculous. Who in their right mind is challenging me to a battle? Whoa, dude. Whoa. How dareth thou challenge me to thy battle? Alright, let's go ahead and get into a bush. Let's keep reading. Labor unions, am I right, guys? You know, those labor unions. Can't live with them. I'm sure there's a joke there somewhere, I just have no clue what it is. Let's go ahead and do the sniper just so I can open up the map later. Are these what I think they are? I love these. Talk about a loadout. Oh, guess. That hurts. That hurts, but I had to. Let's go find a nice bush. You ever just had to take a piss at the most inopportune time? You ever just had that? We have labor unions. We have murderers on the loose. We have women who are in love with the murderer on the loose. I mean, it's beyond repair at this point, you know. Bush. If you're wondering why my screen is so shaky, I'm doing the potty dance as we speak. Don't worry, now we're good. I'm going to keep on reading. Let's continue. Everywhere Burnham looked, he saw rail tracks and temporary roads, empty boxcars and packing crates. Tumbleweeds of Excelsior roved the grounds. He was disappointed with the unfinished appearance of the park, and he was peeved at his wife. Ooh, peeved? Why do you not write me every day? He asked on Thursday. I look in vain for your letters. Damn. He kept a photograph of Margaret in his office. Every time he walked by it, he picked it up and stared at it with longing. So far that day, he told her, he had looked at it 10 times. He had counted on a rest after May the 1st, but realized now that the intensity would persist until long afterwards. The public will regard the work as entirely done, and I wish it were, so far as I am concerned. I presume anyone running a race has moments of half despair, along toward the end, but they must never be yielded to. Margaret sent him a 4-leafed clover. Why? Is that a romantic thing, a 4-leaf clover? Is that a woman's stupid version of romance? Look, I sent you a leaf. It was on the floor. It's because I love you. Fuck you. There was disarray in the fairgrounds, but not next door on the 15th acres of ground leased by Buffalo Bill for his show, which now bore the official title Buffalo Bill's Wild West and Congress of Rough Riders of the World. He was able to open his show on April 3rd and immediately filled his 18,000-seat arena. Visitors entered through a gate that featured Columbus on the side, under the banner Pilot of the Ocean, the First Pioneer, and Buffalo Bill on the other, identified as Pilot of the Prairie, the Last Pioneer. His show in camp covered 15 acres. Its hundreds of Indians, soldiers, and workers slept in tents. Annie Oakley always made hers very homey, with a garden outside of primrose, geranium, and hollyhock. Inside she placed her couch, cougar skins, an Axminster carpet, rocking chairs, and assorted other artifacts of domestic life, and of course, a diverse collection of guns. Yeah, that's it. That's basically what I bring when I go camping. Yeah, that's what I put in my tent too. Let's go camping. What are you gonna bring? I mean, bring the, if you got a vibrating couch, bring it. That's what camping's all about. Why are these circles so far from me, Matt? Ooh, I like this. I like this a lot. Good tunes, man. Good tunes. Look up Mexican lo-fi. It's one of the two options. I have no clue which one. Nah. I'm still kind of pissed that this woman thought that a 4-leaf clover or whatever was like romantic. Women, don't ever get your man flowers. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, dude, I barely survived that. No, 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 no. 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 Ah. Damn, I heard him last second. I was like, dude, I should have just got out of there. You know, for not trying, I'm actually getting more kills than I thought I would. Hey, dude, your Loki skin sucks. Let's continue reading. Buffalo Bill always began his show with his cowboy band playing the Star-Spangled Banner. Next came the Grand Review, during which soldiers from America, England, France, Germany, and Russia paraded on horseback around his area. Annie Oakley came next, blasting away at an array of impossible targets. She hit them. Another of the show's staples was an Indian attack on an old stagecoach, the Deadwood Mail Coach, with Buffalo Bill and his men coming to the rescue. During the show's earlier engagement in London, the Indians attacked the coach as it raced across the grounds of Windsor Castle carrying 4 kings and the Prince of Wales. Buffalo Bill drove. Alright, so it was a very fancy occasion, alright. Late in the program, Cody himself demonstrated some fancy marksmanship, dashing around the arena on horseback while firing his Winchester at glass balls hurled into the air by his assistants. The climax of the show was the attack on a settler's cabin, during which Indians who once had slaughtered soldiers and civilians alike staged a mock attack on a cabin full of white settlers, only to be vanquished yet again by Buffalo Bill and a company of cowboys firing blanks. As the season advanced, Cody replaced the attack with the even more dramatic Battle of the Little Bighorn, showing with historical accuracy the scene of Custer's last charge. So they're just, what are they called? Reenactment actors? Like they reenact, that's in the word I guess, but they reenact historically significant moments in history, I guess. It's not a bad little play to put on, now that I think about it, for a fair, for a carnival, which is basically what it feels like. The fair was hard on Colonel Cody's marriage. The show always kept him away from his home in North Platte, Nebraska, but his absence wasn't the main problem. Bill liked women. Ooh, and women liked Bill. One day his wife, Lulu, traveled to Chicago for a surprise conjugal visit. She found that Bill's wife already had arrived. Ooh. At the hotel's front desk, a clerk told her she would now be escorted up to Mr. and Mrs. Cody's suite. Oh no, dude. Oh man, they're making us look bad. Women, all men don't cheat, but this guy, man. Fearful that a wider strike could hobble the fair, even destroy it, Burnham began negotiations with the carpenters and ironworkers and agreed at last to establish a minimum wage and to pay time and a half for extra hours and double time for Sundays and key holidays, including significant Labor Day. The union men, in turn, signed a contract to work until the end of the fair. Burnham's clear relief suggests that his earlier bravado might have been just for show. You can imagine, though, tired, I go to bed happy, he wrote to his wife. One measure of his exhaustion was the fact that the contoured syntax he usually worked so hard to suppress had now resurfaced. We sat from early in the afternoon to 9 o'clock. Till the fair is over, this trial will not recur, I believe. So your picture before me is unusually lovely as it looks upon from the desk. Burnham claimed the agreement was a victory for the exposition, but in fact, the fair's concessions were a breakthrough for organized labor. Yeah, it sounds like it. and the resulting contracts between models for other unions to emulate. The fair's capitulation pumped steam into America's and Chicago's already boiling labor movement. Olmsted returned to Chicago accompanied by his usual troika of affliction and found the place galvanized. Burnham everywhere at once. On Thursday, April the 13th, Olmsted wrote to his son John, "Everybody here in a keen rush, the greatest inimaginable outward confusion. Winds raced over the park's barren stretches and raised blizzards of dust. Train after train arriving bearing exhibits that should have been installed long before. The delayed installations meant that temporary tracks and roads had to remain in place." 2 days later, Olmsted wrote, "We shall have to bear the blame of everyone else's tardiness, as their operations are now everywhere in our way." You can tell this dude's like afraid to put his foot down, you know what I mean? Not afraid to like be strong on his opinions or whatever, but afraid to like say, if you guys don't do what you got to do, I'm gonna find some dudes who are willing to work for nothing, willing to work for a bag of chips, and you guys will be fired. Don't test me. That's what he should have done. But I digress. At best, the most important part of all our work will have to be done at night after the opening of the exposition. I cannot see any way through the confusion, but there are thousands of men at work under various chiefs, and I suppose by and by the great labor will begin to tell together. Okay, I see. I kind of get what he's saying. It's like, I mean, we're gonna have to come together and get this thing going eventually, one way or another. He assigned some of the blame for the incomplete landscape to himself, for failing to install a trustworthy overseer in Chicago after the death of Harry Codman. On April 15th of 1893, he wrote to John, "I am afraid that we were wrong in leaving the business so much to Ulrich and Phil. Ulrich is not, I hope, intentionally dishonest, but he is perverse to the point of deceiving and misleading us, and cannot be depended on. His energy is largely exhausted on matters that he should not be concerned with. I cannot trust him from day to day." That's rough. His frustration with Ulrich grew, his distrust deepened. Later in another note to John, he said, "Ulrich is unwittingly faithless to us. The difficulty is that he is ambitious of honors out of his proper lines, cares more to be more extraordinarily active, industrious, zealous, and generally useful than to achieve fine results in LA being landscape architecture." Olmsted grew especially leery of Ulrich's slavish attentiveness to Burnham. He is all over the grounds about all sorts of business, and Mr. Burnham and every head of department is constantly calling for Ulrich. In going over the works with Burnham, I find him constantly repeating to his secretary, "Tell Ulrich to do this and that." I remonstrate. It's like demonstrate, but with the R, remonstrate. But it does little good. I can never find him at work except by special appointment, and then he is impatient to get away. At heart, what Olmsted feared was that Burnham had transferred his loyalty to Ulrich. I suppose that our time is out. Our engagement ended, and I fear that Burnham is disposed to let us go and deepen and depend on Ulrich, for Burnham is not competent to see the incompetency of Ulrich and the need of deliberate thought. I have to be cautious not to bore Burnham, who is, of course, enormously overloaded. Other obstacles quickly appeared. An important shipment of plants from California failed to arrive, worsening an already critical shortage of all plants. Even the fine weather that prevailed in the first couple of weeks of April caused delays. The lack of rain and the fact that the park's waterworks were not yet completed meant Olmsted could not plant exposed portions of the grounds. The wind-blown dust, frightful dust, he said, regular sandstorms of the desert, continued and stung his eyes and propelled grit into his inflamed mouth. "I am trying to suggest why I seem to be accomplishing so little," he wrote. I think the public, for a time, will be awfully disappointed with our work, dissatisfied, and a strong hand will be required here for weeks to come to prevent Ulrich's energies from being wrongly directed. By April 21st, Olmsted was again confined to bed with sore throat, an ulcerating tooth, and much pain preventing sleep. Despite all this, his spirits began slowly to improve. When he looked past the immediate delays and Ulrich's duplicity, he saw progress. The shore of the wooded island was just now beginning to burst forth in a dense profusion of new leaves and blossoms, and the Japanese temple, the Houden, crafted in Japan and assembled by Japanese artisans, detracted little from the Sylvan effect. The electric boats had arrived and were lovely, exactly what Olmsted had hoped for, and the waterfowl on the lagoons provided enchanting sparks of energy in counterpoint to the static while immensity of the Court of Honor. Counterpoint to the static white immensity of the Court of Honor. Olmsted recognized that Burnham's forces cannot possibly finish patching and painting by May. They can't finish patching and painting by May the 1st. Got it. And that his own work would be far from complete. But he saw clear improvement. A larger force is employed, he wrote, and every day's work tells. Even this flicker of optimism was about to disappear, however, for a powerful weather front was moving across the prairie towards Chicago. During this period, the exact date unclear, a milk peddler named Joseph McCarthy stopped his car near Chicago's Humboldt Park. It was morning, about 11 o'clock. A man in the park had caught his attention. He realized he knew the man, Patrick Prendergast, a newspaper distributor employed by the Inter-Ocean. The odd thing was, Prendergast was walking in circles. Odder still, he walked with his head tipped back, and his hat pulled so low it covered his eyes. As McCarthy watched, Prendergast walked face first into a tree. Rain began to fall. At first, it did not trouble Burnham. It suppressed the dust that rose from the unplanted portions of the grounds, of which he was disappointed to see. There were far too many, and by now, all the roofs were finished, even the roof of the Manufacturers and Liberal Arts Building. It rains, Burnham wrote to Margaret on Tuesday, April 11th. And for the first time, I say, let it. My roofs are in such good order at last. As to leaks, we care little. But the rain continued and grew heavier. At night it fell past the electric lights in sheets so thick they were nearly opaque. It turned the dust to mud, which caused horses to stagger and wagons to stall, and it found leaks. On Wednesday night, a particularly heavy rain came pounding through Jackson Park, and soon a series of 200-foot cataracts began tumbling from the glass ceiling of the Manufacturers and Liberal Arts Building onto the exhibits below. Burnham and an army of workers and guards converged on the building and together spent the night fighting the leaks. Imagine fighting leaks of your building by hand, just manpower. You know what I mean? It's like no, ShamWow is not the one. What is it, flex tape? It's like flex taping a whole building. You know, it's like, yeah, we do we have enough flex tape for this? Yeah, we got enough flex tape, man. Last night turned out the most terrible storm we have had in Jackson Park, Burnham wrote Margaret on Thursday. No damage was done to the buildings on grounds except that the roofs of the Manufacturers Building leaked on the east side, and we stayed there until midnight covering up goods. One of the papers says that General Davis was on hand and attending to things, that he never left the building till all was safe. Of course, Mr. D had nothing whatever to do with it. The rain seemed to bring into focus how much work remained. That same Thursday, Burnham wrote another letter to Margaret. The weather is very bad here, and has so continued since last Tuesday. But I keep right along, although the most gigantic work lies before us. The intensity of this last month is very great indeed. You can little imagine it. I am surprised at my own calmness under it all. But the challenge, he said, had tested his lieutenants. The strain on them shows who is made of good metal and who is not. I can tell you that very few come right up to the mark under these conditions, but there are some who can be depended on. The rest have to be pounded every hour of the day, and they are the ones who make me tired. As always, he longed for Margaret. She was out of the city but due back for the opening. I will be on the lookout for you, my dear girl. He wrote, you must expect to give yourself up when you come. Subordination, I like it. I like it a lot. As always, he longed for Margaret. She was out of the city but due back for the opening. I will be on the lookout for you. Oh, I already read that. For this buttoned-up age, for Burnham, it was a letter that could have steamed itself open. Oh, that's a good way to describe it. It was so hot it could have steamed itself open. So hot you can burn the shirt off yourself. Day after day, the same thing. Fogged windows, paper curled from ambient moisture, the demonic applause of rain on rooftops, and everywhere the stench of sweat and moist wool, especially in the workers' mess at lunch hour. Rain-filled electrical conduits and shorted circuits. At the Ferris wheel, the pumps meant to drain the tower, excavations ran 24 hours, but could not conquer the volume of water. Rain poured through the ceiling of the woman's building and halted the installation of exhibits. In the midway, the Egyptians and Algerians in half-clothed Dahomeyans suffered. Only the Irish, in Mrs. Hart's Irish village, seemed to take it in stride. For Olmsted, the rain was particularly disheartening. It fell on ground already saturated, and it filled every dip and every path. Puddles became lakes. The wheels of heavily loaded wagons sank deep into the mud and left gaping lacerations, adding to the list of wounds to be filled, smoothed, and sodded. So, Chicago weather is, needless to say, pretty effing bad, right? Not helping anything here with this fair that we're trying to get off. Well, what's the term? Off the ground. Let's go ahead and get into a bush here. The way Mans is writing to his woman. Very steamy, very hot, very steamy. Just gotta get some stuff before we... I hear this clown. Where's this clown at? See some stuff at those bunny ears. Let's go ahead and do that. Can I break in here? Oh, I can. Alright, let's get that bunny ear loot and let's continue reading if we can. Fantastic. I don't want to be on that side. Get into that bush right there. I see a chest, I must have it. Wait. Alright, now we can hide in a bush. I feel like my odds are a lot better now with a bat. In terms of super weapons, I think the bat ranks... I think the bat is up there as the number one, my personal opinion. It is my opinion, which makes it the right one. Okay. Hope everybody knows that. Alright, let's continue reading. Despite the rain, the pace of work increased. Olmsted was awed by the sheer number of workers involved. On April 27th, 3 days before the opening, he reported to his firm, "I wrote you that there were 2,000 men employed? Foolishly. There have been 2,000 men employed directly by Mr. Burnham. This week, there are more than twice that number, exclusive of contract forces, including contractors and concessionaires' forces. Concessionaires' forces. There are now 10,000 men at work on the ground, and would be more if more of certain classes could be obtained." Jeez. "Our work is badly delayed because teams cannot be hired in sufficient numbers." His estimate was low. In these closing weeks, the total number of workers in the park was almost 20,000. He was still desperately short of plants, he complained. All resources for these seem to have failed, and the want of them will be serious in its result. His ulcerated tooth at least had improved, and he was no longer confined to bed. "My ulcer has shrunk," he wrote. "I still have to live on bread and milk, but I'm going about in the rain today and getting better." The same day, however, he wrote John a private and far bleaker letter. "We are having bad luck. Heavy rain again today." Burnham was pressuring him to take all manner of shortcuts to get the court of honor into presentable shape, such as having his men fill pots and rhododendrons, rhododendrons, dendrons, rhododendrons, fill pots with rhododendrons. The hell's a rhododendron? Hold on. It's a plant? Why don't you just say that? Who's shooting? I hope you're not near me. Rhododendrons and palms to decorate terraces. Precisely the kind of showy, transient measures that Olmsted disdained. "I don't like it at all," he wrote. He resented having to resort to temporary expedients merely to make a poor show for the opening. He knew that immediately after the opening all such work would have to be redone. His ailments, his frustration, and the mounting intensity of the work taxed his spirits and caused him to feel older than his age. The diet of the provisional mess table, the noise and scurry, and the puddles and rains do not leave a dilapidated old man much comfort, and my throat and mouth are still in such condition that I have to keep slopping victuals. He did not give up, however. Despite the rain, he jolted around the grounds to direct planting and sodding, and every morning at dawn attended Burnham's mandatory muster of key men. The exertion and weather reversed the improvement on his health. I took cold and was up all night with bone trouble and am living on toast and tea. He wrote on Friday, April the 28th. Nearly constant heavy rain all day, checking our work sadly, yet the frenzy of preparations for Monday's opening continued unabated. It is queer to see the painters at work on ladders and scaffolds in this heavy rain, Olmsted wrote. Many are completely drenched, and I should think their painting must be streaky. He noticed that the big Columbia fountain at the western end of the central basin still was not finished, even though it was to be a key feature of the opening ceremony. That shows a good sign of confidence, right? Your most important piece. It's not even close to getting done, yeah. A test was scheduled for the following day, Saturday. It does not look ready by any means, Olmsted wrote, but it is expected that it will play before the president next Monday. Damn. As for the work under his own department, Olmsted was disappointed. He had hoped to accomplish far more by now. He knew also that others shared his disappointment. I get wind of much misplaced criticism by men as clever even as Burnham, because of impressions from incomplete work and undeveloped compositions, he wrote. He knew that in many places the grounds did look sparse and unkempt, and that much work remained. Anyone could see the gaps, but to hear about it from others, especially from a man whom he admired and respected, was profoundly depressing. The deadline was immutable. Too much had been set in motion for anyone even to consider postponement. The opening ceremony was scheduled to begin on Monday morning with a parade from the Loop to Jackson Park, led by the new President of the United States, Grover Cleveland. Train after train now entered Chicago, bringing statesmen, princes, and tycoons from all over the world. President Cleveland arrived with his vice president and a retinue of cabinet officials, senators, and military leaders, and their wives, children, and friends. The rain steamed off black locomotives. Porters hauled great trunks from the baggage cars. Caravans of water-slicked black carriages lined the streets outside the city's train station, their red waiting lights haloed by the rain. The hours slipped past. On the evening of April 30th, the night before opening day, a British reporter named F. Herbert Steed visited the fairgrounds. The name Steed was well known in America because of Herbert's more famous brother William, the former editor of London's Pall Mall Gazette, and recent founder of the Review of Reviews. It's like movie critics for movie critics. Assigned to cover the opening ceremony, Herbert decided to scout the grounds ahead of time to get a more detailed sense of the fair's topography. It was raining hard when he exited his carriage and entered Jackson Park. Lights blazed everywhere as shawls of rain unfurled around them. The ponds that had replaced Olmsted's elegant paths shuddered under the impact of a billion falling droplets. Hundreds of empty freight cars stood black against the lights. Lumber and empty crates and the remains of workers' lunches lay everywhere. The whole scene was heartbreaking, but also perplexing. The fair's opening day celebration was set to begin the next morning, yet the grounds were clotted with litter and debris, in a state, Stead wrote, of gross incompleteness. The rain continued through the night. Later that Sunday night, as rain thumped their windowsills, editors of Chicago's morning dailies laid out bold and elaborate headlines for Monday's historic editions. Not since the Chicago fire of 1871 had the city's newspapers been so galvanized by a single event, but there was more quotidian work to be done as well. The more junior typesetters leaded and shimmed the classifieds and personals and all other advertisements that filled the inside pages. Some that night worked on a small notice announcing the opening of a new hotel, clearly another hastily built affair meant to capitalize on the expected crush of exposition visitors. The hotel at least seemed to be well located. At 63rd and Wallace in Inglewood, a short ride on the new Alley L from the fair's 63rd Street gate. The owner called it the World's Fair Hotel. Oh, interesting. We're already into part 3, so we're not going into any more subchapters. How long have I been at this? If it's hitting an hour, then all right. So this is going to be LG until we go into the next part. So we're about to get into the actual fair itself. The fair has been planned for. They've worked on it for X amount of, months at this point, maybe years really. And there's really not much else to be done. I really want those gloves. Other than, just present the fair for what it is, which isn't much, but it is kind of all they have at the moment. So it is interesting how they're going to navigate these waters. And on the Holmes side, the murderer, that dude's just nuts. Dude is absolutely nuts. I'm hoping that, it is a murder mystery. I know this dude's going to somehow, some way find a way to just lure innocent victims his way. But I want to see how it plays out. I want to see if anybody catches this guy. Would be interesting to see. Yeah, we'll play this out and then we'll go into the next part some other time on another video. But the book is getting good, man. The book is part 3. This is the last part. We're already near the end of the book. Or it could be lying. Maybe there's more parts and you just don't know it, right? So definitely a good book. Definitely been entertaining thus far. I'm enjoying it. It keeps me preoccupied. It keeps my mind away from the stress. Because there is a lot of stress going on in life, right? I mean, you want to start a business, you want to do this, you want to do that. There's just a lot going on that one hopes to kind of relax from. But the book is getting good. The book is about to get into the meat and potatoes. We got a lot of backstory, good backstory from a lot of people. Again, friends have died, colleagues have died, workers have died. It's going to be very interesting to see how they navigate these waters afterwards. It's going to be very interesting to see how I navigate this. I don't know if that was the right move or the wrong move. Could have melted that guy. When you haven't, I mean, you gotta be in a zone. I gotta get like a kill or two more so I can be in like a groove, right? Of actually playing, switching weaponry, and right, my 3. This is like last resort, but it's there if I need it. See where this next circle goes. Oh, I love this music, man. It's so good. It's like it's upbeat, but it's not annoying. You know what I mean? Some might be. Some of the tunes might be annoying, but this one is like very, very doable. I like it. Okay, it's not like I. Oh my gosh, dude! I gotta make this move now. You kidding me? Gotta take a major waz, man. Thank God I'm not trying in these games, man. What if I don't want to rotate that way, you know? If I can get visuals on these clowns, I think I'm okay. Oh, I got no. Who are you flying at? Whoa. Oh, thanks for that, dude. Makes me feel loved. Ooh. See ya, sucker. Alright, I gotta. Whoa. Oh, I didn't see this guy. Oh, I got no health here. My only place to get lost in the sauce here. Oh, no way. Third? Somebody else is... Who else is left? They were both in the same car and they weren't shooting each other? No way. No way. Well, unfortunately, that's going to be the end of the game for me. You saw me take care of these clowns as best as I could, but, you know, wasn't really trying. But Thanks for watching until next time, which I believe will be part 14. All right, goodbye.